People think it's cool, and then he smiles, and for a while I'm in love.
Hi, welcome to episode 10 of River's Knitting Chronicles. I'm River, also known as River Cameron on Ravelry, and so if you'd like to, feel free to, if you have any questions, PM me or join the group, River's Knitting Chronicles on Ravelry, or you can friend me. I've had some people friend me over on Ravelry who I'm assuming had seen the show because I don't know how else I know you, but that's awesome and I appreciate it, so thank you. If you're sitting there and you've been watching my show over the past 9 episodes, you might be looking and saying, is that it? Is she wearing it? Is that it? Yes, the sweater is finished. I finished it on time. It was 1 o'clock in the morning, but it was finished, soaked. I very loosely blocked it. I kind of laid it out, and I didn't do too much because I really didn't want it to grow very much, and I know that superwash can do that. All my ends are woven in. Issue right now is that I live in Florida, and it's very humid, and humid means wet air, and wet air means laid out sweaters don't really dry very well. So it's still damp, so I'm taking it off. You will probably see some dangly bits as I'm showing you the different aspects of the sweater. They're all woven in. They're just, I didn't snip all of the ends because I'm not sure if I'm going to have to put this in the dryer, and this is my first time with a sweater. I'm not sure if I wove in enough ends because I've not ever done anything that I could just wash and dry. I wouldn't put it in a full cycle of the dryer because that just makes me too nervous, but even to put it a little bit in the dryer, I'm just not sure about how long of the weaving I should have done, so I left some ends. I tend to do that anyway, leave a bit of end just in case, so I don't want it to unweave itself, and all stranger things have happened, I'm sure. But anyway, so it's finished, and finished in time. I finished, like I said, 1 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm Eastern time. The way the House Cup works, you have to have everything turned in by midnight Pacific time. So that was actually 3 a.m. my time. So I had 2 extra hours I could have goofed off now. I was really feeling loopy by the time I went to turn it in, and I was so nervous I was going to leave something out of the post that I had to forget to tell them what my name was or something. I did the turn-in post, and I posted it with nothing but my name, and I had to go back in and edit the entire thing to put all of the information so that they could see my sweater. The photo of my sweater in my turn-in post is atrocious. I didn't even put it as the top photo on my project page. I'm hoping that my daughter, Kyra, hey Kyra, will come by. She took her last test for summer session yesterday, and so she's free, so I'm hoping that maybe sometime as soon as this thing is actually dry, before it gets too hot outside, because like I said, this is Florida and it gets ridiculous hot here, we could take some pictures, and I'll put those on the project page. And I generally don't post in the blog other than show notes and the videos, but I've been tempted a number of times to do actual written posts, and I might do that. I might post, if I get some good pictures with the sweater on, I might go ahead and do a pictorial or something like that kind of post with pictures of the sweater. So I wanted to talk about the sweater and the pattern. The pattern is the Vodka Lemonade, and it is by Thea Coleman, Colman, and the pattern is a paid pattern. It is $6.50. It is 6 pages long. So I've had sock patterns that were longer than that, but they were patterned socks and things like that. There is a lot of stockinette in this sweater. It's done from the top down, and it has, if seed stitch is the bane of your existence, you will probably not get past the collar unless you're really, really motivated to do this sweater. I didn't mind seed stitch until a little past halfway through the collar, and then it got really, really draggy for me. But it's just the collar, and then you have like little sections of it as you go. I don't want to I'm not going to tell you what the pattern is. I just want to give you the type of information that you'd like to know if you're on the fence, or thinking, would I like to do this pattern? So the way it works, you've got this collar, it's all in seed, it's top down, and it's all in, like, you separate out for the sleeves, you do the whole body in one thing. So there's no seaming whatsoever. I did have to pick up stitches after okay, here's the body, and then at the bottom of, oops, try to stand up here. I'm on a low stool in case you haven't figured that one out. At the bottom of the body, right in the center, all sorts of crooked here. Hold on. I'm going to try this again. That should be centered. There's this great little detail. Can I stand behind it and fix it? There's this great little detail of lace. Just this tiny little portion. And other than being super, super cute and having just that little surprise back there, and there's that same little thing on right by the edges on both sides, it was a nice little, yay, I'm almost done kind of thing. And if you're someone who likes to, I think that might be why I enjoy color work in lace, because there's always that next, ooh, I'm going to get to the next color change, I'm going to get to the next pattern, or I'm going to get to the next section, I'm going to get to the next, if you like those motivators, and I think that's part of my problem with stockinette is I do like those, I'm just going to get to the next whatever. There's a whole lot of waiting to get to the next anything because of how much stockinette is in the back of the sweater, or in the whole body of the sweater. But you get to those little lace sections and it's like, ooh, I'm to the next, yes. And then it really seemed to go faster, even though it was kind of the same thing with those little bits of lace, but you got to move along. The pattern is written for 3/4 sleeves. In part because I was doing it for an owl, and the owl I had selected requires full-length sleeves, so I adjusted it to full-length sleeves. For mine, all I did, honestly, was I just kept going in. It has, for the different sizes, it tells you how many rows before the next decrease, and when I did the math, I have shorter arms as well anyway, and when I did the math to get to the inches it suggested you should have at the wrist versus the inches you should have when you have a 3/4 sleeve, I could just keep going with it, the pattern the way that it was. I didn't have to adjust. You might want to do some math if you want to make that change to adjust it. The sleeves end with a little bit of, I don't know how much is showing today. It seems dark in here for some reason. A little bit of seed stitch at the ends. I contemplated putting that little lace detail on the ends of the sleeves. If I'd have been farther along and it had been earlier in it, I would have attempted it, just because I think that might have been cute to have it in a few other places. But I really like that. What I'm not sure that I like is not a problem at all with the pattern. I'm not sure that the raglan sleeve style without a seam here is the best for my body shape. I'm very pear-shaped. I'm much wider in the bottom than I am in the shoulders, and having this really soft through here just kind of, I feel like I look a little dumpy. I'm going to wait till I see the pictures for sure. I still love the sweater, and I worked this hard, I will certainly wear it. But right now I'm thinking that my next sweater, I should maybe try something with where there's seaming through here, or a different style than the sleeves that just kind of come from the neck and then just go down in the arms, and there's not any kind of definition, or if I'm making any sense. I just feel like I need something a little bit more structured right here to offset the way my body is shaped. Let's see. The pattern is 6 pages. Hold on just a second. Oh, it called for, there's some discrepancies in the amount of yarn, and I'm really glad, oh boy howdy am I glad, I overbought. Because I overbought, I thought I could possibly get away with 5. 6 was just to have a little space, and 7th was so maybe I could make a matching hat or something, or in case I really screwed something up and needed an extra ball of yarn, an extra skein. I ended up using 6.5 skeins. part of that is that I did the longer arms, so I get that. But where at one place it said that you used 1,250 yards, even at for my size, even at 3/4 sleeves, there was no way. And then, but when you, I'm trying to remember because it's been a long time since when I was searching for the pattern, but it then was switched to saying you needed 1,350, and possibly I could see 1,350 for my size. I'm looking at it right now, and on the pattern it says 1,350. I want to say that on the project page, or someone's project page, or on the pattern page, it might have said 1,250 in one place, and then been adjusted. 1,350, on the pattern right here, the smallest size says 850, and the largest size says 1,450. I used about 1,420. I have maybe 100 yards left, and they're in 2 small balls because I alternated skeins throughout the whole thing. That was a pain in the butt. Mostly, it wasn't that bad on the body. It did help give me, well, I just want to get to the next skein. I just want to get to the next switch over of yarn. So that kind of helped getting back and forth. Or I just have this much left. I'm going to go till I get to the end of this skein, and it's time to wind another one. So that helped with the motivating. Alternating skeins on sleeves was not fun. It wasn't enjoyable. I'm still glad I did it, because I don't think that if you can't tell that I did it, then I think I did a good job. But as you can see, I think there were one skein specifically had a really light patch in it. There was one section of it that was much lighter than all the other skeins and itself. And so I think alternating skeins went up because I was going to hold that one out and use that one maybe for a hat or something if I didn't end up needing it. And I ended up needing it, and it ended up on this sleeve. So yeah, if you decide to do this, find your size and definitely make sure that you've got some extra, especially if you're someone who panics about running out of yarn. Make sure you have at least, I would say, half to one extra skein just in case. And then you can make a matching hat or mitts or something with it later. But have that extra yarn for you, just to keep yourself safe. That being said, I also remember I did this on one size up needles, which might have affected my yarn usage, but my gauge was spot on. The pattern calls for a size 5. I did it on 6s because I'm a tight knitter. So since I got gauge, I don't know if that would affect yardage or not, but just keep that in mind too. The sizes for this go from a 32 up to a 52. And it calls for having some positive ease. It specifically is written to not close in the front. She does, and this is what I like it had instructions for if you want to go to a long sleeve as opposed to 3/4 sleeve. And it does talk about if you want it to have buttons or some type of closure. It's not written to have that. It is written to have some positive ease, but it's not written to close. It's supposed to hit right where it hits me. If you want it to close, if you want to put some type of closure there, and you don't want it to look gapey, if you do your size, or do the size that would give you an inch or two of positive ease, and then want it to close, you're probably going to end up with something that fits snug and that has that gapey, I don't like that at all. So you might want to go up a size possibly and then adjust the length for you. That is one thing that I had to do just for me because the measurement is done in the chest. I have a larger chest, but I'm a shorter person. I'm 5'3". So I was going along and going along and going along on the body, and I tried it on and realized if I did as many more inches as it called for, it was going to be way too long on me. And so I went ahead and adjusted, and so I started doing the inches for a smaller size, but I had the stitches on the needle for my size. And that's another thing that she does talk about. Not a ton, obviously there's not that much to say, but she does have a number of places in there where she says, try it on right at this point, try it on at this point, keep trying it on and make sure and adjust. And what's great for the sweater is that It's not something that you could, I need to do it the length of this size, but the width of this size, and that's not going to mess up anything as far as the pattern goes. So, and she says, don't worry about how many stitches I say you should have on the needles. Do as many stitches as you need for it to fit you, and then go from there. And so that was great. And everything was done like the lace section in the middle of the back, you just kind of figured out. What I did was I counted and then put stitch markers. I found where the middle was and put stitch markers on either side, and so that's how I ended up there. And yeah, she says to start from the top, but there was no way I could. I didn't feel confident going from the center of the neck and trying to figure out exactly where that middle was. So I just counted across all the stitches that I had, divided in two, found where that middle was, and then counted out for that little lace section. I'm trying to think of what else information you would like to know. It's a great sweater for if you really like stockinette. If you're someone who can zoom through stockinette, I should knit for you guys sometime. Well, I'll have my tutorials up pretty soon, hopefully, and you'll be able to see. I am not a fast knitter by any stretch of the imagination. I'm getting faster as I go, but I'm not. As somebody, I want to say it was Karen from Round the Twist, one of her older ones from Sock Summit, and she showed a knitting speed competition, and the lady who won had 50-something stitches per minute. I'm not. I tried to count, and I'm somewhere around 20 or so, 15 to 20 on a good when I'm trying to go fast. So I am not a speed demon, and that's probably also why stockinette is boring for me, because it does take me longer than it does some other people. But if you enjoy that, if you're really speedy on stockinette, this is a great sweater for you, because you'll be able to really zip through it. And I know that some people can do it pretty quickly. If this is a first sweater, I think it's a really good sweater. The pattern is very, very specific. Obviously, you always want to read all the way through. I did that. The only place where I was like, darn it, I wish she'd have repeated that right before I was supposed to do it. There were, I think, 2 places where she said, do this, and then, so I get to the end of that, the next direction is to have put a stitch marker in there where I just did that, and somehow I missed it like once or twice, and so I had to kind of go back and figure out exactly where I was that stitch marker should be. So definitely read ahead for the next few instructions if stuff like that will mess you up. If not, then don't worry about it. Everything else, it's very, very well written, very specific. Like I said, it's 6 pages for basically stockinette, top-down sweater, so that worked wonderfully. I ended up with more. I followed the directions and did only the increases that she said, but I did end up with more stitches on the needle than what was called for at my size. Not a ton more, but I couldn't figure out. It was probably my mistake, but there are no extra yarn overs on there or anything. I don't see where I knit. When I was new, the yarn would split, and I knit both and make and would end up giving me an increase. I don't have any of those, so I'm not quite sure how that happened, but I did end up with some extra stitches. They don't bother me at this point. I do plan to use this. I don't really own a winter coat. I live, like I said, in Florida, and so I'll put on a shawl, or I'll wrap up in a hat and a scarf and just my regular clothes, and then take them off my classroom. So this will be that's what I'm planning on doing with this anyway, so I wanted it to be big. And so I went up. The sizing had my size, but I went up and did the next one anyway, so that I could have room to have clothes under it. So you have that option. I don't know what else. It's got good pictures on the pattern. They're artful pictures. They're pretty pictures, and yet they do show you some details. The only place I got confused was in the row where you separate out the sleeves. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to do more increases there or not, and I did them, and now I wish I hadn't done them there, but it's 2 extra stitches. I just feel like it's right at the underarm and having that yarn over, which means that yarn is sitting all by itself. I am concerned I might need to darn through that section, but otherwise everything was very, very straightforward, with the exception of a few places where I wish she'd have said, do this many stitches, put in a stitch marker, do this many, as opposed to do this many stitches, and then the next line is, you should have put a stitch marker. Yeah, that's kind of silly. It was silly of me, because I should have kept reading ahead. There's a number of places where she says she's got some things that she thinks are important instructions, and she puts them in red so that it stands out. So even if you're just kind of going part by part, it's going to stand out and jump to you like, ooh, maybe I should look at, she even has the word now bold and underlined in part of it, so that you know, okay, I should probably pay attention to this. She has photos of close-ups of the lace on the different lace panels. The lace little section is just charted, so it's, yeah, the little lace pattern is not written out, it's just charted, but it's incredibly simple. And it has the legend right next to it. It's all on the same page, so no problem. Edging, sleeves, and then she has the schematic written out at the bottom, so you know the waist is there is waist shaping. It's not very exaggerated waist shaping, it's very subtle, but she has, this should be, the difference from here to here should be this many inches, this should be this many inches, so that as you're going, you know, okay, I had to do the length for, I'm really tall but I'm really thin, or I'm built more like River, so I need to make these adjustments. It's got all that information there so that you can go and look at it and say, okay, so if I do this size and do this, I can be sure to still have what was intended for this pattern. So I really like this pattern. I'm not looking to do it again anytime soon because I'm stockinetted it out, but I really enjoyed it, and it's 2 thumbs up for me. I can't see me, so I don't know how to say that. Definitely 2 thumbs up for me. If it's a first sweater, or specifically, if it's a first sweater, or if you really enjoy stockinette, large sections of stockinette, if that's something that you can, I know there are some people who can knit and not look when it's large sections of stockinette. I'm not that way, which I think is part of my stockinette issue as well. So if you're like that and you can, I think the Mustache podcast were talking about knitting in the movies, that they could sit in the dark and knit stockinette. Can't do that. But, so if you like that, this is a great sweater for you. The yarn is nice. I really enjoyed the Madeline Tosh. I really enjoyed the color. Absolutely something like Madeline Tosh, alternate skeins, or you're going to end up, even though, wow, in the hanks or in the skeins, they looked pretty close. I know when I went to go wind that one, I was going to use it about midway through, and when I untied the hank and laid it out before I even wound it, I saw that big, light, almost pink spot. And so that's where that ended up being used at the end. And most of that color is actually in the half of that ball that I didn't use. So but definitely, and I did in the house cup. Wow, I've been talking about the sweater for 23 minutes. I hope that's not boring. Anyway, in the house cup, I did a first sweater study haul, and what I might do is take some of that information and make a, I don't have any stickies in the group, but I think maybe I'll make a sticky, put a few things for sticky, but put some of that information. I found some really good tutorials and reasons for alternating skeins and different things like that, and put them in our group. So for people who want to try a sweater, or who, even if you found this later than after I put this up in a few weeks or months, if it's been a while, hi future, so that you can do that. So I love this sweater. It will not be wearing it until it gets much, much cooler. The rain has ended here, but it is still hot. But anyway, so Vodka Lemonade, Thea Coleman, really enjoyed it. To keep yourself safe, get an extra skein of yarn. We all love yarn. You'll find something to do with it if you don't use it, I promise. But just in case, I think that would keep you safe, and I hope you enjoy it. Okay. So since I finished that, and that was Wednesday, well, I guess technically Thursday in the AM, but I hadn't been asleep yet, so Wednesday night, I did not knit at all on Thursday. I took a complete knitting break, and actually was kind of wanting to knit, but I decided, no, I'm gonna make myself, especially after the marathon knitting, I want to make myself rest my hands and rest myself. So I did that on Thursday. And Friday, though, so I sat there and was unhappy about all the stockinette and then waiting for it to end and ready to move on. And Friday, though, with all the projects I have and things I have in mind to cast on, what did I start knitting on? Stockinette in the round. I know, it's crazy. I don't understand me sometimes. This is called the Ex Libris, and it looks teeny tiny right now, and it still is. I did maybe 5 or 6 rows on it, and it is a case. Look like a bandit. Ooh, you can't smash. It is a case for my Nook, and it came from the book Stitchin' in the Stacks, and this pattern, and I pulled up the pattern, is by Sharon Fuller. And the way this pattern, the book is really cute. If you haven't taken a look at it, it's got some really adorable things in it, and I'm very excited to have it. The way this works, I know it looks like an incredibly boring, just stockinette in the round Nook case. Why do I need a pattern for that? Just figure out my inches. But it has duplicate stitch where it's going to have a border around it in yellow, and then it says Ex Libris on the front, and it has the font on it, and it has a way that I could put my monogram on it, but I'm not a monogram kind of girl. I know that they're popular and everything, but I'm just not that kind of chick. So I'm not going to put them, but I am going to put the Ex Libris on it. So yesterday, as I was very tired, though, so I think that helped with the stockinette. I was missing my sock yarn, so this, I talked about this in a couple of other videos. It is an incredibly close facsimile to the Mad Tosh Tart colorway. It's the Tiziano Red from Malabrigo. This is the Malabrigo sock. I have multiple skeins of this because I love it so much. Every time I see it, I find myself picking it up. It's one of the few things I pick up without having a pattern in mind that I'll just get because I know I love it so much. I can always make red socks. So Sharon Fuller from the book Stitchin' in the Stacks, Nook cover called Ex Libris. And what's great about that is if you have a Kindle, it also has 5 different size directions for different size Kindles or Nooks. So whatever e-reader that you have, it has, and then it has the measurements if you have, I don't know, Kobo, they have some other ones, and I'm not sure how it adjusts to, I don't know that it would adjust to iPad size, but you could look at it and see. So that's what I'm working on too. I haven't added to this, but I haven't shown it in so many weeks. I'm going to go ahead and show it again. This is the Geyer Cowl by Elizabeth Elliot, and I am going to get back to this week. I stabbed my yarn with it. It is color work, and it's so pretty, and I miss it, so definitely looking forward to getting this back on the needles. It is a color work cowl, and when I finish the color work, which I have about 1/3 more of the color work rows to go, and then it goes into, I've said this so many times, I'm sorry for those of you who've been watching the whole time, it goes into this color again, and then you do a barber pole of the brown and the pink around and around and around for the same amount of length as what this cowl is, and then you flip it where that goes on the inside. So it becomes a reversible cowl. I'm really excited to finish this. I think it's adorable. And I miss color work, and I haven't gotten to work on anything color work in a while. So I'm actually excited to get back to that. So yeah, I love when I'm excited about my knitting. I have a couple of things for future projects. I had talked about this about a month ago that I had promised my son a Rebecca Danger monster, and so as soon as the cowl gets off the needles, that will go on. And I also have a project that I almost cast on last night, but I've tried casting this on before. Granted, I was a much newer knitter at the time, but I had a lot of problems with getting it started. And that's all I'm going to say. And some of you, it's a pretty popular pattern, so I've never made one. Some of you will know what I'm talking about, though. So my daughter's birthday is the 10th of September, and she wants lots of warm things that she can take with her to London, so because the climate is so different from what she's used to here. And so that's going to be part of her birthday. I'm going to have to figure out, because I know she watches my show, I have to figure out how to share that with you guys and have her not see it. Maybe put some kind of, okay, Kyra, skip to such and such time mark, and that way she doesn't look. Or put it at the very tail end and tell her to turn it off. I don't know. But I'll figure it out before next week. So I'm at 30 minutes, and I'm going to go ahead and say thank you very much for watching, and I really appreciate it. If you want to get up with me, I'm on Twitter as I am River Cameron, all one thing together. I am obviously on Ravelry as River Cameron. There's a Ravelry group, River's Knitting Chronicles, and we're at 83, I think, members. I'm very excited for that. If you would like to email me, which I've been bad, I haven't checked that email in a few days with all the knitting. It is riversknittingchronicles@gmail.com, so you could send me an email if you would like to do that rather than a PM. The show is also on YouTube. Hi, YouTube subscribers. And I have some subscribers, and some people will comment on the videos there, and I do my best to try to check over there. So if you have any questions and you're a YouTube person, go ahead and just comment in the comments below, and if you have questions, and I will answer those. As far as iTunes, I am on iTunes. I don't know why. It's only keeping the latest 5 videos. So if you just found me and you're wondering why, I'm wondering why too. I have no idea, but all of the videos are on the blog, riversknittingchronicles.com, or on YouTube, and the YouTube channel is also Rivers Knitting Chronicles. So you can find the other videos. I'm clueless as to why YouTube or iTunes is deleting everything but the latest 5, because I know other people have multiple hundreds of videos on iTunes, but I don't know. So thank you very much for watching, and this is my last week of vacation coming up, so I'm hoping to enjoy that. Next week will be the show right before I go back to work, and then we'll see how I'll have bags under my eyes and be all exhausted after that, but hopefully not. Hopefully work will be okay this year. You never know, and that's part of the joy and pain of being a teacher. You never know year to year what you're going to get, but anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I appreciate you, and I'll see you later. Bye.
On a boy named Samson. He doesn't know who I am, and he's got thick brown hair, blue eyes that stare into your soul. He makes me feel so pretty, like I'm the only